Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll start with an invocation led by Councilmember Honeycutt, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember DeBartoleben. Please rise as you're able.
Let us pause for a moment and pray. We are grateful for this community and for the chance to serve it. Help us remember how fortunate we are to be here tonight and to keep in mind the people we represent beyond this room, especially those who need us most. Guide our conversations and our decisions so they're rooted in care for one another and love for our neighbors. May the work we do tonight and in the future help improve the quality of life for everyone who calls Knoxville home. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, would you please call roll?
Councilwoman Adams.
Here.
Councilman DeBartoleben.
Here.
Vice Mayor Fugit.
Here.
Councilman Grant. Councilman Helsley.
Here.
Councilman Honeycutt.
Here.
Councilman Lloyd. Here. Councilwoman Parker. Councilman Thomas. All members present, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the minutes from our last meeting?
To approve. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any items from tonight's agenda to be withdrawn? Are there any items to be postponed? Councilmember Honeycutt.
Yes, all parties have requested that item 11H, the resolution from Leland Hume in the West Hills community, be postponed by 2 weeks.
Okay, motion has been made to postpone for 2 weeks. Items 11H has been made and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any further items to be postponed? Any items to be added by motion? There are no memorials. So the consent, just one note, we mistakenly put item 12O on consent because it's a grant, but it's a grant we're giving out, not receiving, so that was our mistake. So we're removing that from consent, item 12O as an Oscar. Any other items to be removed from consent before we hear a motion to approve the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion on the consent agenda has been made and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Time now for my mayor's report.
Could I just,
Councilmember Parker, yeah, sorry.
just a point of clarification? For items to be removed from consent, do we need a motion to remove it?
No, remember just last meeting, you asked one to be removed, and it's just done. Just takes one person.
Does it need to be a council member to request it to be removed?
Okay, I guess maybe it does. So we could go back and ask one of you to remove that from consent by, sorry, I just thought since it was our mistake and it was adding it back for more discussion.
Just for
My
the point
fault.
of clarification, I will move that we remove item 12O from consent.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Well, we don't need to
Oh, we
vote
don't
on
need
it.
to
I
vote.
just
Need a
wanted to
second.
clarify that.
Oh, yeah,
should
okay,
be
so
an
we don't
action
even
of
need to vote on
council.
it. Okay, so item
Okay, I ask
12O
that we
is back.
remove 12O.
Thank
How's
you.
that?
Thanks for that point of clarification. Mr. Thomas?
Yes, I just had a question, Mr. Frost. I know that any council member without a second can have something removed from consent. If someone signs up to speak on an item that's on consent, does it still remain on consent, or is that removed to allow them to speak?
Thank you, Councilmember Thomas. Yes, I think something remains on consent until a member of council asks for it to come off consent.
Regardless of whether someone signed up to speak to it?
Okay,
Is that,
thanks for the clarification.
I can add one element to that. In your rules, I am to report if someone is signed up on a consent item to speak, which gives council the opportunity to remove it.
Thank you.
okay. There's some new rules, and so we're still adjusting. It's just been a couple weeks. So thanks, everybody, for your patience as we navigate these improvements to how we operate the meetings. I think we're done with all the agenda items, right? I mean, agenda discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 5. All right. We'll move on to my mayor's report. Just want to start by thanking everyone who came out last Friday to celebrate the reopening of the Gay Street Bridge. We had about 150 people come out, and there were walkers, runners, cyclists. We had someone dressed up as a giant squirrel, and that was exciting. And we had more than a dozen businesses, mostly on Sevier Avenue, but also some downtown businesses, let the participants who had a bib come into their places of businesses for various discounts and specials. So it was really fun. Councilmember Adams and I were part of that, and it was a good time. It was a little cold while we were waiting, but then once we got moving, it was no problem. I want to give a special thanks to our special events team that helped put on this unique and special event, and also the Knoxville Track Club. It wouldn't have been possible without the help of the Knoxville Track Club, and there's some hardy runners who run in all kinds of weather and in the sunrise, sunset, and dark, and they showed up and participated in this as well, so it was a lot of fun. In the more good news department, tomorrow we're going to have a ribbon cutting for a very special first-time type of housing in Knoxville, and it's affordable housing. It's first of all, it's at 11 a.m. It's the Lumen Flats ribbon cutting, and these are 18 supportive housing apartments, which we've done supportive housing many times, and we're really proud of those efforts. But in the past, it's been for people who are chronically homeless, or veterans, or people with disabilities and that sort of thing, seniors. But this time, for the first time, it's for young people aging out of foster care. And as you know, having once been 18, or maybe being parents to someone who are young, even though you're legally an adult, you still need a lot of help and support, and maybe coming out of foster care even more so. So these are apartments, but with some supportive services to help those young people get on their feet and make their way in the world, even as they come out from the foster care umbrella. So please come join us for sharing this special event. It's at 1585 Coleman Road, and we're asking people to park at a church across the street, City Hills Church, because there's not much parking on site. There will be shuttles provided from the church to 1585 Coleman Road. Again, that's 11 a.m. tomorrow. And again, a special thanks to our Housing Neighbor Development team and others who helped make this possible. That's going to be 18 young people who might otherwise be, who knows how they would be housed. So we're really pleased about that. Also tomorrow, the Knoxville Police Department is holding a promotional ceremony. 4 officers are being promoted to the rank of lieutenant. 7 officers are being promoted to the rank of sergeant. It takes place at 3 p.m. at the Civic Auditorium, and everyone is invited. And while on the topic of KPD, I want to share tonight a special proclamation. As many of you know, and this is something that I remember has been talked about for many years, how are we going to get KPD up to fully staffed? This has been a question that I faced when I was first running for mayor, and I am proud to say that as of today, we have reached a major milestone at KPD. We're fully staffed for the first time since 2014. I mean, that's a really big deal. Yes, we'll clap now. We'll clap some more. And I think there's a lot of reasons for this. I think we've had a very supportive council. We've had a very supportive community. We've done a lot of things. So I just want to share a proclamation to recognize people in the administration, Chief Noel, all the people involved with the recruiting and training, because once you get the new officers, you have to equip and train them and make sure they have all the tools and training they need to keep our city safe. So I wanted to take some time tonight to recognize this effort and extend a special thanks to the people behind the scenes that helped make this happen. And I have a proclamation to present. So I'm going to read this proclamation and then present it to those who want to particularly recognize tonight. So this is what it's contained in here. Whereas in 2025, KPD exceeded its goal of hiring 100 recruits, bringing on 118 recruits who started the academy. That 118 in one calendar year. Whereas KPD Training Academy staff hosted 3 academy classes in 2025, devoting countless hours to shape KPD's future and prepare recruits to serve the Knoxville community with purpose and professionalism. And whereas KPD field training officers worked tirelessly throughout 2025 and to this day to provide continuing in-the-field training, guide academy graduates, and help them hone their skills. And whereas the collective efforts of KPD, human resources, and civil service staff to develop innovative and collaborative strategies for recruiting and training have strengthened the department's ability to staff a capable and dedicated group of police officers committed to serving the community with excellence. Now, therefore, I, Indy Kincannon, Mayor of the City of Knoxville, do hereby recognize on January 20th, 2026, that KPD is fully staffed. So, and I would like to ask the following people to come join me on stage with Chief Noel to, hand this proclamation over to you on this important occasion. Deputy Chief Susan Coker, Captain Chris McCarter, Personnel Director Brooke Bright, Recruitment Officer Micah Hutchins, Sergeant Amy Cardona, Training Director Lieutenant Adam Minner, FTO Supervisor Sergeant Carl Kennedy, Training Staff Member Sergeant Chris Hutton, and any other training academy staff here tonight. Please come up to the stage and let me give you this proclamation. We're so proud and thankful. Come on up, please. One more round of applause for all the people. And this is good news for our department, but also just good news for our whole city. It's going to make our officers able to be well rested and well trained, as they always have been. But being fully staffed is going to make our city safer. So we're really grateful. Last, I want to just a quick reminder about our rules of decorum. We are here to do the city's official business. Those who wish to speak either to a specific agenda item or during public forum need to sign up with the city recorder before 4 p.m. Do not use profanity, and when speaking to specific agenda items, you must stay on topic. Remarks must be germane to the question ahead of the assembly. That is, statements must have bearing on whether the pending motion should be adopted. Those who fail to adhere to these rules will be ruled out of order. For those who are listening, please note if you disrupt a public meeting, you will be asked to leave or escorted out. Thank you in advance for your respect for these rules, and that concludes my mayor's report. Are there any reports of committees or council members serving on committees or boards? Okay, are there any general council member announcements? Council Member Adams and then Honeycutt.
Thank you. I wanted to have two announcements. The first one is thanks to Parks and Rec for the help with Mary Vestal Greenway and Mary Vestal Park. We were having some issues with some unplanned traffic there, and they were able to provide bollards and some signage to help with that management there. And really appreciated the action on that item. The second report is there's an art trail that is happening in South Knoxville. Many people may have heard of it. If you haven't, it is planned to go from Kearns all the way out to IAMS Nature Center along an existing rail bed. But the news I have to share is that Legacy Parks and Gulf and Ohio are beginning the work of pulling up the rails and ties. It started now at Meads Quarry and should take about 4 to 5 weeks for completion. So you'll see some activity there. That's what's going on, and we're really excited about this trail moving into another phase.
Thank you. Councilmember Honeycutt?
Yes, thank you. I just have two brief announcements. First, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of Natalie Haslam, a prominent District 2 resident who also has a lot of family in District 2. I want to honor her lasting legacy of generosity and leadership in Knoxville. Her impact on education, the arts, and our civic life will be felt for generations. So thank you to her and her family. On a more positive note, I always like to share good news when I can, and I'd like to share some good news from West Hills and thank Tyler Motton, who led a very large group of local families for advocating for a safer walking path to their elementary school. Thanks to their positive leadership and the responsiveness of City Public Works, who they're very happy with, that path will be installed this spring, improving safety for students and the community. So thank you to Tyler for leading that group of parents, and just wanted to report, and thank you to Public Works for being so proactive. They're very happy with the city, which is great.
Okay, wonderful. Any other council member reports or announcements? Okay. Moving right along. Mr. Johnson.
12I is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Whaley Construction LLC in an amount not to exceed $397,241.50 for the 2026 curb cuts project.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the agreement with High Street IT Solutions to provide additional SaaS implementation services to the city in order to transfer data to Oracle Fusion Cloud ERP in an amount not to exceed $1,050,000 for a new total contract price of $2,099,500.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 8-1.
$12K is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a second amendment to C-24-0416, an agreement with Axon Enterprise Incorporated to provide additional goods and services to the Knoxville Police Department in support of the city's existing Axon systems at an additional cost not to exceed $9,407,699.82.
Motion made and seconded. Council members, as you know, this is an extension, an amendment of a contract that was approved by council a year ago. We just honored the fact that we're at fully staffed, so this will allow all of our officers to have all the equipment they need, body-worn cameras, tasers, and so forth, and also would add our new technology to KPD's facilities, including drones as first responders, and put the license plate readers under the same bundled contract. As we've always said, public safety is job one, and I'm glad to be bringing this contract amendment to you all to make sure that we give our officers and our department the tools they need to keep our city safe. This amendment will be spread out, the cost over the life of the contract that runs through 2035-36. And I think you all have had a lot of information to digest on that and had some questions asked and answered. I'm sure there'll be more discussion, but I do appreciate, I'm hopeful that you will support this item. I think it's good for our city and good for our public safety. Councilmember Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple questions for Chief Noel. I did have a few community members, quite a handful of community members reach out regarding this particular resolution. I did speak with Chief Noel briefly, and he was able to catch me up to speed on some things. But for public record and for my constituents, I just had a few questions that I would like to re-ask him, rather, just to give them a better explanation. Chief Noel, can you talk about the public-facing dashboard that will come with these resources from Exxon?
Sure, absolutely. So right now, we have 6 drones right now, the hand-flown drones, and while we record every time, or we capture every time we fly those drones, we don't have any public-facing component of that. So that's one thing I'm really, really excited about with this program. So once we get this DFR program up and running through Skydio, we will build out, or they will build out for us, a public-facing dashboard that will show every drone flight, the flight path, all of that information will be publicly available. We'll probably have a couple-hour delay from when the drone flies to when that appears up on the dashboard, just for safety reasons for our purposes. But it's going to be a very, very transparent process. One thing that I really like about this system is when the drone flies to its destination, the camera faces forward. It doesn't look down. It doesn't look down till it gets where the area where we're trying to get a view of what's going on. I'm really, really excited about that public-facing dashboard.
Thank you, Chief Noel. And can you talk about, as I was, doing my research, the Freedom from Unwarranted Surveillance Act? Can you kind of give us a little bit of information about exactly what that is?
Absolutely. So I have that right in front of me right now. So what the council member is talking about is TCA 39-13-609, which governs the use of law enforcement drones in the state of Tennessee. And it's pretty restrictive, and it lays out when we can fly an unmanned aircraft for law enforcement purposes without a search warrant. And, really, to sum it up, and anybody could go look at it, TCA 39-13-609, the way it really lays it out is that these drones are reactive. They're not, proactive or looking to, really surveil, looking for crimes. They're designed to respond when a crime occurs. One of the cities that uses Skydio drones is Oklahoma City, and they've done a really good job of coordinating with the fire service there of, having eyes on a structure fire before the fire department shows up. But it lays out when we can fly the drone, when we can't fly the drone. It lays out we can only save the video footage for 15 days. Obviously, unless it's evidence of a crime, then we can keep it long because it's evidence. But it lays out how long we can keep the evidence, keep the video, and it really lays out when we can fly these drones. And if you have any specific questions about when we can fly them, I could read all this out if you like. But it says that we cannot, we can't just use this to go surveil or look for a crime in progress.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilmember Thomas and then Parker.
Yes, just a question, and you may have answered it. I just want to make sure that I understood it, and it's also for a constituent that answered the question. And it does have to do with the drones collecting information, and then later you find out that this is not a law enforcement issue. I think I heard you say that this evidence would be erased after 15 days. Is that?
That's correct. So unless we film a crime in progress where it would be used as evidence in a crime, obviously that once we have evidence of a crime, then that's in the jurisdiction of a court. But just regular drone footage that we would have, by law, by Tennessee state law, we cannot keep that footage for longer than 15 days.
Okay, thank you. You answered my question.
Councilmember Parker?
I was curious if there were any public forum speakers signed up on this matter.
No, ma'am, nobody signed up to speak on this item.
Okay, then my question, well, I have a lot. I have more than we have time for. And my preference would be that we do not vote on this item tonight and instead hold some public information sessions so that the public is clear on how this technology would be used and would have policies in place and understand what those policies are. In looking at what other cities are doing, that's exactly what Louisville is doing. They brought the idea of drones as first responders before the public and announced 3 public information sessions before attempting to negotiate a contract. We initially approved the bulk of the services included with the Real-Time Information Center last year and had only a few days to review the materials. Our meeting was on January 7th. We had a holiday, coming out of a holiday, to read a lot of information about how this technology will be used and what is being acquired. Some of the items were replacements, upgrades to what we'd had before, but we clarified in our meeting last year that it was an increase in cost. Around 10 million over a 10-year period, 11 and a half. So around $1 million in annual cost that we approved last year, an additional annual cost. And now we have before us a request to increase those annual costs from $2.3 million a year to $3.7 million a year, 1 year later. One of my concerns with Axon are the ongoing price increases that happen as new technology is acquired, as changes are made to these subscription services. And within 1 year, we've already seen that happening. Wanting to change over the license plate readers from Flock, another expense that we should have been able to foresee last year as Flock was changing their policies on how they would interact with Axon. And so we rushed into a contract last year, $27 million contract, only $2 million covered by grants, $25 million coming from local city dollars. Now we're asked to increase the contract again this year, another $1.4 million a year. First 3 years covered by grants, but then it's all on us after that. Then those are local dollars we have to budget in. At minimum, the public deserves a public information session. I've requested, as a part of our council workshops, already requested a workshop on the Real-Time Information Center and the policies attached to it. So while last year there was a deadline of January 15th, we had a meeting on January 7th. We had to approve the contract that had already been negotiated by January 15th, and the contract was approved. This year, Chief, can you tell me, is there a reason why we could not postpone this to allow more time for public discussion, education around what the Drone as First Responder program would look like, and answer some of the questions that I have regarding the ongoing cost that comes with some of the subscriptions that we are acquiring? So that would be my question for the chief.
I think we've been very open about all of the information regarding this program. We've spoken about it a lot on media. All the media outlets have reached out. I think pretty much everybody from the News Sentinel, from the Compass, to all the TV stations have run at least one story, and some of which more. So it's certainly not something that's not been in the public domain for a little while. As far as with the specific contract of postponing it, I'll defer to the finance director on how that would work as they really negotiate these contracts. But this information has been in the public domain for a little while, including when we did a pilot program on this, I think back in September of last year.
Isn't it also true, Chief or Mr. Evans, that there's some things that we negotiated in this contract that were 2025 prices, basically?
Yes, ma'am. The prices are based on, they're $2025, and, I've done procurement for a long time. I don't know the exact amount, but anytime you're going with prior year's dollars, they've got it locked in there, and you've bundled it up, and you're getting it through part of a cooperative agreement. You're going to get a better price than what you would if you waited, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, whatever, in 2026. So, yeah, that's, in generalities, that's very true.
Any other council members have questions or comments?
I have additional.
Council members, I believe your rules, I mean, if there's no other further discussion, we just move to the vote.
I believe I get another opportunity to ask questions once everyone else has a chance to speak.
Okay, we'll start another 5 minute, if that's your, is that, I'm not sure. I think that the interpretation, Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and ask, take another 5 minutes, and if there's other questions, we'll do our best to answer them, and then see if any council members have questions besides you.
And I'm just going to go through the questions because it'll probably take me 5 minutes to list them off. And you have no 5 minute limit on your answers, so you can take as much time as you would like, or you can follow up with me later and we can postpone the vote, which would be great. So I had questions about the operational policies. You have mentioned some state laws, some other laws that govern the Real-Time Information Center. But those policies for the center, you've notified council that they're still in process. So I have questions about what the intended uses of the technology incorporated into the center will be, who will have access, how often audits will be conducted to identify any disparities in the use of the technology or unauthorized use of the technology. In terms of the drones, will the public have access to drone footage through public records request? We've seen federal court decisions out of California that have determined that those are subject to public records requests. So when you speak of footage that we're keeping for 15 days outside of investigations, those would be privy to a public records request. What will KPD's redaction policy be for drone footage? Will drones be integrated into the license plate readers and the FUSIS system? Other cities like Louisville have already informed their public that those connections will not be made because the drones will be used for emergency response only and not investigations. Do the drones use facial recognition technology? Do the drones use AI technology? What does it mean for drones to be automated? In an interview, you said one pilot could man 4 drones. I've also seen an announcement that the drones could be automated, meaning no I don't understand what that means. I would like a further clarification on that and what technology is involved to make them automated. As I said, will Knoxville commit, as Louisville has done, that drones will be used for emergencies and not for surveillance and investigations? Would the city agree to host the public information sessions? Would be another question that I have. And then I had concerns that I shared with you about the equipment that's a part of the this amended contract, and trying to get an understanding of what has already been authorized under the contract approved last year, and what represents new equipment, what represents replacement equipment, and understanding with this subscription plan how replacements work. It seems if we are subscribing to this technology and not purchasing this technology, we should be able to swap it at no cost. And when I inquired about contract changes last year, one of the contracts had replacement cost, had replacement equipment included with it, but no costs were incurred by the city because it was a replacement of equipment. You know, this may be difficult to convey in 5 minutes. I agree with you that it's difficult to understand what my questions are and to have a real conversation about them, because this is not the proper venue for this level of discussion. This level of discussion deserves a workshop. But I do not feel the support around the table for a workshop or a postponement, so those are the questions that I have.
Councilmember Parker, thank you for those comments and questions. I would say the bulk of those were addressed in the email that Chief Noel sent to council, and the links that he sent to the public dashboards that other cities have done in this program, to the state law that talks about some of the policies and so forth that we will be following. Yes, if this is approved, we'd be happy to continue to have info sessions on this topic in particular. I know KPD has various community meetings by district pretty routinely, once every other month or more, but we can have a special planned one just focused on this if that's what community members want. But I think that a lot of the information has already been supplied. And just as a point of information, this isn't good. Real-time information center hasn't opened yet, and we don't plan to roll this out quickly, but just with all intention and lots of transparency with council and the public throughout this. And so that will continue. Chief Noel, did you have any other anything else to add?
Just a couple of things real quick. So before any of this goes live, before the Real-Time Information Center goes live, we will certainly invite council in to come take a look at it and see what we're going to do. We've been working very, very deliberately with the Real-Time Information Center. Losing Captain Sammy Schaefer to the airport set us back a little bit, and so we're really taking our time to make sure that we're ready to go before we open this up. But we invite you all in to take a look at everything. To answer a couple of your questions, the drones do not use facial recognition technology. And I mean, I'm just trying to remember all your questions, but they're not used for surveillance. You know, the state law would prohibit that, as the state law is written, for us to use that for surveillance. We would have to use it for, you know, a major event, natural disaster, or a call for service. So they, just like with Louisville, call for service comes out, the drone goes, gives our officers real-time information in the field, but not to do a surveillance. We would not be allowed to do that. So I mean, I think that the state law, when you get a chance to look at it, and if you don't have it, I'll be happy to send it to you. I think it really spells out when we can and also what we cannot use these for.
And how about the integration with the license plate
Councilmember
readers?
Parker, you do not have the floor.
Well, just to clarify, Mayor, all of the questions I asked were not answered in the email. The document that was shared with council, I've shared it publicly so the public can see what was shared by KPD. I would appreciate answers to the questions. I'm happy to send a follow-up email, but the answers have not been shared to the questions that I've asked.
The DFRs
Thank you.
do not have LPR technology in them.
Thank you. See, when you allow a conversation, you see what can happen? It's amazing.
All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 8-1. Next item, please.
12L is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with area-wide protective to provide flagging and traffic control as needed for city projects for an annual amount not to exceed $42,500.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12M is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Middle Tennessee Traffic Management, LLC, to provide flagging and traffic control as needed for city projects for an annual amount not to exceed $42,500.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12N is a resolution expressing appreciation to Pellissippi State Community College for the donation of $15,123.65 toward ball field improvements at Ridley Hilton Ball Fields, and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents necessary to accept said donation.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12O is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents to award a total amount not to exceed $60,000 in Empower Knox Youth Mental Health grants to provide support and programming for youth and young adults to 6 community-based organizations in the city.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you. Yes, could we get an explanation of the application process for this grant?
Ms. Middlebrook?
Yes, so the application guidelines and physical application are released, I believe they were released this year on November 3rd. Looking to Ms. Norris, she can fill any blanks if I forget anything. The application was open until the first week in December. Applicants could submit applications via email, online, or in person. Once those applications were received and the process was closed, those applications were collected, reviewed by staff, and then taken to our volunteer review committee for them to review and make recommendations regarding funding.
And so applications for this funding opportunity opens each year in November.
For the past 2 years, it is open in November. 3 years. Past 2 years, it has opened in November.
Okay, is that what you anticipate for this year as well?
We hope so, yes. And we try to be very diligent about releasing that information via social media, via media releases, to the roundtable, which encompasses several dozen youth serving organizations, and to other networks so that organizations are aware of the opportunity.
Awesome, thank you.
Councilmember
Absolutely.
Grant?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Before I get started, I do want to make it clear that I definitely support mental health programming and the intent of Empower Knox in its initiative. However, I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm in opposition of this resolution as written because of its funding structure and its process. One, the resolution states funding decisions were made through a competitive review process. I have a lot of questions in terms of what that process is. You did mention the committee and city staff. Who's on that committee? What city staff are a part of this application process? What volunteers are a part of this application process? All 6 organizations receiving a maximum of $10,000. Applicants, the report and the service of reach varies very, very widely. You have one organization that says with $10,000, it will serve 400 to 500, ranging ages 12 to 24. Another applicant says it will serve only 10 individuals aging from 12 to 24. And then others estimate 120, and another says 80. Equally funding vastly different levels of impact, to me, raises concerns and fiscal responsibility and return on investment. Limited public dollars should be strategically allocated to maximize youth service and community impact. My position is not to the mission or the organizations individually, but a one-size-fits-all funding approach I can't agree to. I would support a tiered and amended structure that aligns this funding program with scale and impact. You know, I can't support this moving forward. I mean, to me, the organizations that are listed do great work. I've had my own personal experiences with a handful of them. 2, I know for sure, are providing mental health services every day to our youth. Phyllis Wheatley does a great job. Central Hispano does great work as well. VerbCon, never heard of them. They're from Florida. They're from Orlando, Florida, based on what I was able to find. So again, not even based out of Knoxville. I've spoken to a number of applicants who were denied, who are small grassroots organizations who I know are doing, providing youth services and youth mental health. And so here we are again, where you have large entities and larger organizations with millions of dollars in funding receiving the small dollars that a grassroots organization would need to stay above water. KLF has an $8 million a year budget. Their net revenue last year was $1.4 million. Net. This is a nonprofit we're talking about. And the list goes on. I mean, when you talk about providing funding for these multi-million-dollar organizations, and you have small grassroots organizations who are out here every day doing the work, I think it's time to change that. And so I'm hoping my constituents up here will take heed to that. And I would love the opportunity to sit down with the Office of Community Safety and Empowerment, Empower Knox, to learn more about what the process is. How can we include the community and council members in terms of what that process is, so we can have more confidence in making these decisions when you talk about public dollars. Thank you.
Ms. Middlebrook, do you have the names of the people on the committee, or did you want to respond to some of those questions?
I believe I included in the email to council that the volunteer committee for this particular grant consisted of members of the Mayor's Youth Council, which we have done for the past 3 years, I believe. We regularly include members of the Mayor's Youth Council in our review process for our volunteers. To be clear, staff review the applications for completeness. We compile the information and share it with members of the committee. The members of the committee review those applications and make recommendations to the staff. The staff do not vote on those recommendations. Members of our volunteer committees make those recommendations. With regards to the size of service, a lot of it depends on the types of services that are provided. So some of the organizations are going so far as to provide direct mental health services, providing access to counseling services for their participants through mental health providers. Some of them are using resources to provide additional training for their staff to support the mental health needs of their participants, to support social emotional learning, and to be able to recognize other signs to best support the mental health needs of their participants. And so the range in the number of participants that are served heavily depends on what specific services are being provided. And I can defer to Ms. Norris to provide any additional information about some of the feedback that the review committee provided. I did not participate in that process. I do not participate in those processes heavily, and so she can provide additional feedback. But members of the Mayor's Youth Council served as the review committee for this particular process.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none. Oh, Councilmember Honeycutt.
Sorry, in light of some of the information Councilman Grant brought up, and again, forgive me for being new to the process, what are the pros and cons of asking for a postponement for 30 days so Councilman Grant and others that are interested can learn more and bring this back to council?
Ms. Middlebrook, are some of these scheduled for, to be operationalized in the near future? Or can you speak to that question, please?
Yeah, so the awardees have submitted timeframes for when they plan to implement program, and there's also associated with the grant technical assistance for the awardees, for the grantees to receive technical assistance through Harmony Family Learning Center to support the organization's capacity, because a big part of what we do is not only related to providing direct funding, but also capacity building for organizations in our community. And so that cohort is scheduled to start in the very near future. And so it could directly impact our organization's capacity to implement their programming in a timely way.
I would just say that also, just as I know council members know this, like the city of Knoxville is not a mental health provider, and generally that's the role of the state and county government to help, particularly with people, and we have in our country massive gaps, and Knoxville's no exception. So we recognize that these grants are just helping out organizations, particularly for young people, around the edges as our resources allow. We are not trying to, we do not have the fiscal capacity to address the systemic problems, but this will help around the margins. And our Mayor's Youth Council, I just met with them on Sunday. They're really proud of their role in being able to help be decision makers in a small grant program that's supposed to help people their age. That being said, if you all wanted to postpone it, that's your prerogative, but I'll let you guys decide that.
Well, and my mother, spent her entire career in mental health. I'm a big proponent of mental health and helping in any way we can, the organizations that do that good work. I do have, a lot of respect for Councilman Grant and appreciate him bringing up, the concerns and questions on this particular topic that I wasn't aware of. So I personally would prefer at least 2 more weeks to look into this item further, but I understand, and talk to everyone further, but I understand the situation and what other council members may want to do.
Council Member Adams?
I guess in response to some of Council Member Grant's comments, this option in front of us is something that we see annually, correct?
Yes, but it's relatively new. I mean, I think this is the first time we've done these, the last 2 or 3 years.
Correct. So in previous years, some of the funding that came through the previous iteration of Empower Knox was kind of done on a rolling basis. We recently revisited the process to make a more structured process to give organizations a better understanding of what they could be applying for, to have the opportunity to actually apply for more funding than they traditionally would have received through the previous process, and to just offer kind of more structure and guidance to organizations that may be doing this work. Under the direction of Ms. Norris and the Youth Council for the past couple of years, one of the things that the Youth Council felt really strongly about was focusing in on an area that impacts youth and young people, because it does go into what I would consider to be young adult age range in this area. And so the focus area changes based on kind of some of the Youth Council's top priorities and what they see is impacting themselves and their peer group. So last year, The cohort was focused around workforce readiness and funding programs that were supporting young people in being prepared for workforce readiness. And this year, the Youth Council has really honed in on youth mental health and doing a lot of programming and educating themselves and their peers around youth mental health, and really felt strongly about supporting programming that could help themselves and their peer group around addressing their mental health needs.
They're also planning a youth mental health summit in February. I can't remember the date of weekend in February.
So I appreciate the additional exposition in the process. It seemed like Councilmember Grant's questions, a lot of them were around process and some of the decision-making that's happened there, but we're at the sort of 11th hour. So I was going to suggest this potentially another option, that because of those concerns, that those are ones that we take forward in a new process for the next year, just as another thing to consider.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes, I think I'm familiar with the grantees, the proposed grantees, except for the verb kind. I don't think I'm familiar with that one, and I do see at least it's based in Florida, or that's their physical address. Ms. Middlebrook, could you explain to us what they do on a local level?
Yes, the VerbCon is an organization. Their home base is in Florida. They have local staff here. They've been operating here locally for a few years. We have actually funded this organization before through some of our other grants. They primarily provide resources and services to young people involved in the juvenile justice program, and so they do a lot of work with young people transitioning through detention or who may have issues around delinquency. And so most of their programming is tied through the juvenile court system and young people that are involved in juvenile court, providing mentorship, life skills development, social and emotional support, coaching around self-regulation, and integrating back into their regular lives for those who may have been in detention for a period of time. And so most of their services and supports are focused around working with young people who are processing through Knox County Juvenile Court. And again, I'll defer to Ms. Norris for any additional information about that particular organization.
Do you know if they have a brick and mortar office here that they operate from?
Is Ms. Norris present?
She is.
Yes,
I'm looking
I just
at her
have
now.
a couple of questions, please.
And
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I am not 100% sure if they have a brick and mortar, because like I said, they primarily serve young people at Knox County Juvenile Court, and so they go to them instead of the young people coming to where they are.
Ms. Norris, could you just state your name and role with the city, and then try to answer those questions, please?
Sure, of course. Emily Norris, Youth Engagement Manager for the City of Knoxville. And yes, I'd agree with Ms. Middlebrook as far as I know. I'm not sure if they have a physical brick and mortar space here, but I am familiar with the work that they do in with our juvenile justice system here.
Do you know how they're staffed and how many employees they have working locally?
I don't.
But it is in-home visits or in-person visits? It's not?
It's in-person
Okay.
visits. Yeah, no, they're
Yeah.
not
So the-
remote or Zoom visits, no.
Yeah, the folks are local, and they work primarily at the juvenile justice
Correct.
facility.
Yes.
So they're going to where the young people are.
Correct.
Well, I guess I am a little bit concerned that we don't have more information about this particular group. They sound like they're doing great work, but without having more information, I guess I'm a little bit hesitant to approve the funds on this one. So I think with some of the sentiments, I would lean toward a 2-week postponement so that someone could come here and at least explain, particularly this particular group. It's not at all casting dispersions. It's just that we don't know where this money's going on and what the operation is. And I would love for them to come here and inform us and justify it. So I think I'm inclined to have a 2-week postponement, but I want to hear what my other colleagues say about that.
Vice Mayor Fugit?
I think Ms. Parker's light on was before. Was on before me.
Councilmember Parker?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We have had members of the public raise concerns about the application process in the past, and that's why I asked questions. Primarily for transparency, I would not be opposed to engaging in conversations further about the various grants offered through this office. But for tonight's vote, I'm not as concerned about $60,000 going to community-based organizations who we've previously already funded, especially when we won't take time for a public discussion of adding $1.5 million to our annual cost. $1.5 million to our annual cost. We won't have a public conversation. We won't consider a postponement out of respect for our colleagues, but we're concerned about $60,000 going to community-based organizations. Instigated by a council member previously funded by this office. It's just disappointing. $1.5 million and the potential impacts on the community. You can sit down. I don't have any questions for you. There's no need for you to stand there the whole time. The groups who have been involved, they've gone through a process. When community members had brought questions about the process before, their end goal was not to prevent others from getting their funding. Their goal was to better understand the process and to make sure that it's fair, and to make sure also that their reputation and reputation of their organization wasn't damaged through that application process. I think for these community groups who've gone through the process, I can't imagine a delay that happens and we determine as a body that one of the groups isn't qualified or should not qualify for funding. I'm just confused of what we would be trying to determine after 2 weeks. We can have a workshop and talk about the whole program and what changes are needed to it, but what do we hope to accomplish in the next 2 weeks? I'm in support of a workshop. I'm in support of this agenda item moving forward and these entities receiving the funding that they have been awarded by the office, not approved by council yet. But I also just want to encourage my colleagues to give space to conversations about those large expenditures, even when it's controversial. There's something about when you have 50 police officers who show up in the room and you just, you want to support your city staff. But we got to have these conversations. And I appreciate Chief Noel. Every time I try to have a conversation with him, despite what the mayor does, Chief Noel tries to have that conversation back. And I think our communities would be healthier if we would just have those conversations. Instead of saying, oh, there's misinformation flying all around. Let's have a public conversation, and then we can get to those questions that community members have and those concerns that they have and communicate what we're doing to protect our community members. But those conversations are needed for those $1.5 million additional expenditures per year, not a little $60,000 grant.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Fugit, I just want to say, as you know, you all decide your workshop priorities, and we'd be happy to work with you all if this is grants through, through this and other programs to try to understand what we do now and hear your thoughts on how we can improve those processes. We'd be glad to do that. I think that's something that we could do for the future, holding this particular one, postponing, I mean, again, your decision, but I think that might be something to do going forward. Vice Mayor Fugit.
So what I was going to say is no one's made a motion to postpone. People have talked about perhaps wanting to, but until a motion's on the floor and seconded, there's nothing to act on about postponing. I would say that what I heard Councilmember Grant say is that he could not personally approve them because he had questions with the process. I think we've all heard that everyone thinks we'd like to understand more about the process and going forward how we do this. I do feel that we're at a point now that the people who participated did the process as it was laid out, and the deciding body decided this is who they wanted to give them to. I don't know, short of how you totally redo the process, we're going to get anything more accomplished by postponing for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, because the folks who've asked for the grants have been awarded them by the group that decided. So I plan to vote in support of these because there are people that we funded in the past, and we and a group, not me, decided that they wanted to give these grants. I also agree, and we have just filled out a list of workshop ideas that everybody sent back to the city recorder, Mr. Johnson, and we can then prioritize what workshops we want to talk about. But I do think whether we have a workshop or not, discussion around the grant-making process and understanding it better with some other input is never a bad thing. So I intend to support this.
I'm not sure who was first, maybe Councilmember Helsley?
That's fine. I just have briefly, I've never seen us question the grant process when we have, like, Ms. Norris is leading the Mayor's Youth Council, and they've worked on this process, and I've never seen us do anything with the Office of Neighborhood Grants and say, you don't deserve that, because citizens sit on that and they decide. So it's like really people spending their own tax dollars, basically. So I don't understand the questioning process on this at all, other than if we wanted to do it and understand that, whatever. I mean, a workshop would be fine, I guess, but I've just never seen us try to pull something back that we had groups dedicated to decide, how this was funded. I don't know that doesn't seem to be our place, but I plan to support it as is. Thank you.
Councilmember DeBartoleben?
Yeah, I appreciate that in the process that we voted on earlier, the new contract for KPD, that I was able to ask a lot of questions of the city, of Police Chief Noel and others, and sit down and meet with them and then really deliberate and even talk to some of my peers in the 4th District. So I appreciate that process. This process happened a little shorter to be able to review this application. We've only had it for a week. Denzel, I think one of your points that's very valid in addition to process is the impact that this type of money has on these organizations. What is $10,000 going to do for an organization with a multi-million-dollar budget? I'm looking specifically at what Leadership Knoxville would do in its counseling hours. So they're going to spend $10,000 on providing counseling hours. But again, how impactful is that to their organization. And then reading, basically it looks like the group from Florida is primarily going to have 2 speakers and their supplies. So in their application, I found information on what they would be doing. I think, again, the challenge is just having the time to have the conversations to understand that process. So.
Councilmember Grant?
Yeah, so I want to try to respond as quickly as possible. I definitely appreciate you guys taking the time and listening. Nathan, I definitely got to get used to not calling you by your first name. Councilman Honeycutt, appreciate you bringing up, postponement into Councilwoman Parker's and Vice Mayor Fugit's with, statement of, what's going to change. And then also Councilwoman Hesley mentioned, what the process has been. This is a new city council body. So what was isn't going to always be today. That's one of the reasons why I ran, to do things differently. So I understand, the process has been what it's been this whole time. But it's our job to do what makes better sense for the community and for the people who voted for us. And that's where I'm coming from. Yes, I do have experience with the Office of Community Safety and Empowerment, and that's why I feel inclined to speak to it, right? In terms of my experience with the office. And so, as I said, my issue is when we're bundling up $60,000, no matter how small it is, out of these 6 organizations, there may be 2 or 3 that we don't necessarily agree with, and there may be the other 3 we're in support of. But we can't move forward with the entirety of it, to me, because it's not, it won't be productive. And given my experience, I know it won't. And that's not to throw shots at organizations that are receiving this funding, but there are a couple of them that I know won't be effective. And when you talk about limited resources, we have to make sure, like, our job is to figure out what the process is. We can't say, let's move forward and say yes, and then we'll figure out. That's been the issue this entire time. That's been the issue in the past. And so if we gotta wait 2 weeks, if we gotta wait 30 days to figure out what the process is, then that's what I feel like we should do. We gotta stop not answering the question, right? It was asked 2 or 3 times, who sits on this committee? Names, please, right? We still don't know who sits on this committee. Is there a point system in terms of these applications, right? Were there 20 applicants and 6 were chosen? Okay, the other 14 or whatever the number is, why weren't they chosen? I mean, we have way more questions than answers. And when we have way more questions than answers, we can't continue to move forward, no matter how small or how high the dollar amount is. And so this may move forward, but I'm going to stand on wanting to know more about the process. As I said, I hope I can sit down with the office and Empower Knox to figure out exactly what the process is moving forward. If these organizations, I do see that some of them did receive it last year. Where are the deliverables, right? If you apply, right? If you got it the previous year, show us the deliverables. How did you deliver the first year, right? We're not getting any of that. And so again, spending, just because it's there, I have an issue with that. And so, yeah, I'm gonna vote against this. And I'm hoping I can, sit down with the Office of Community Safety and Empower Knox to figure out exactly what this process is, to make sure that as we're allocating funds to organizations, we can put more grassroots organizations at priority. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no lights on, all those in favor, please say aye. There is no motion to postpone.
Yeah, I was going to
There
ask
is a
if you
motion.
wanted to make a motion for postponement.
I want to make a motion to postpone for 2 weeks.
Okay, motion's been made to postpone for 2 weeks, been made and seconded. So any further discussion on the motion to postpone? I did want to, just point of information, one of the potential recipients, the YWCA representative is here, Kathy Mack, if council had questions for that particular recipient, but just as a point of information. Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, partly because this is a new council and partly because I have questions as well. I think a 2-week postponement wouldn't be out of the question, and that will give Mr. Grant some time to talk directly, and the rest of us as well, if we choose to talk directly and get some of the questions he's answered. So I will support a 2-week postponement.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion to postpone for 2 weeks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to postpone, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion to postpone carries. We'll revisit this, and Mr. Grant, if maybe we can speak later, and so I have a clear understanding of the questions you have or people you'd like to speak to and meet with between now and the vote in 2 weeks. All right, next item, please.
13R is an ordinance approving the request of Dickerson LLC for an amendment to the South City Sector Plan from low-density residential to South Waterfront Mixed-Use District Type 2 for a property located at 1137 Simpson Street, leaving any and all special purpose land use classifications unchanged, First District.
We have one speaker signed up to speak in favor? Yes, ma'am. In favor of this. Drew Harper? If you could come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please. Please turn the microphone on at the base, please.
Is it this one?
There you go.
Check.
Yep.
Okay, I'm Drew Harper. I live at 1205 Kenyon Street in Knoxville. I am the Vice President of Yes Knoxville, and I support the amendment to the sector plan as proposed. Infill density, such as this would allow Knoxville to welcome more neighbors without the downstream harms caused by sprawl. By adding homes and mixed use in already served areas, the city can grow its tax base without incurring the high cost of extending new roads, sewers, and sidewalks further and further away. More residents and businesses on existing infrastructure means stronger public finances and more efficient city services. At the same time, density supports walkable neighborhoods, local businesses, and a wider range of housing options that will help Knoxville become more affordable, fiscally responsible, and environmentally sustainable as it grows. And how do we lower carbon emissions without density? This is a serious question that I seriously want those of you that believe in climate change to think about. Is there any nation on earth that has lowered its carbon emissions per capita without dense walkable cities as one of the primary tools toward that goal? The change, this sector plan aligns with adopted policy as confirmed unanimously by Planning Commission and staff. It allows homes and mixed use near the waterfront, exactly where growth belongs, reducing sprawl, supporting walkability, and making a better use of infrastructure. Time. Last month, I was honored to go to the swearing in of new city council members. So this is the start of a new adventure for a lot of you, and I'm sure that you want to do some real tangible good for Knoxville. I think nobody gets into this for the high salary and stuff. That is awesome. But as you go on, you may find that your primary lever to wield power is often the power of no. As council members, you cannot double the amount of people that will someday call this parcel home. You cannot triple it, increase it tenfold, but you can make sure that it's zero. I encourage you to resist the temptation of no. We know that negative motivation is powerful. We see that all the time on social media and the news cycle, especially federal news. And part of the mission of Yes Knoxville is to offer a counterweight to that negativity. Approving this sector plan amendment will not solve all the city's problems, but it will be life-changing for the families that will one day call this parcel home. It is incremental, and I've been told that doesn't make a difference, and I believe that it does. Okay, I want to leave you with a quote from someone else who was recently inaugurated and is setting the tone for the future of his work. That's Zoran Mamdani in New York. Quote, "We want to build as much as possible across the city. We want to build for those who call the city home and for those who would love to call the city home if only it were more affordable." For a better Knoxville,
Thank you.
yes. Thank you.
Okay. Any council discussion or motions? Karen, Councilmember Adams.
Thank you. And I so appreciate Yes being here to speak. I think they do phenomenal work and really appreciate the ethos of what they bring to cases. I want to talk about this item, 13R, as well as 13S. I know we're not to that yet, but there are a lot of nuances with planning cases, things that we get from planning, and there are umpteen plans. So if you haven't gone digging for these and looking for the sector plan, the one-year plan, you've heard talk about the comprehensive plan. If you don't understand how all those things are connected, I think it's really important that we spend a little moment doing that. What this case says, and I'm going to ask Ms. Potier from Planning to speak into this as well, if you could, but what this particular item asks is for us to bring alignment to the one-year plan and the sector plan. And as I understand it, the reason that we are considering this is, yes, because of the applicant's request, but it is also something that is, you're saying, is kind of cleanup work that we need to just bring these plans into alignment. Could I ask you to speak to this just as an educational point for all of us?
Sure. So the one-year plan was amended to back in 2006, 2007, whenever the Southwest waterfront districts themselves were created. So there was a governmental rezoning of a swath of properties along the riverfront, and then a one-year plan amendment that went along with that. A sector plan amendment was not done at that time. I'm not sure the rationale beyond that. I don't really want to speculate. I have a couple of thoughts on that, but I wasn't here at that time. So there's been some discrepancy between the one-year plan and the sector plan since that time. I will say that the vast majority of properties in the city, the land use classes do align between both the plans. This is one area of very few in the city where they don't. So there is that discrepancy.
Can you say just a bit more about the land use that doesn't line up?
So the South Waterfront Mixed Use District 2 is the land use classification. That is an area consisting of a few blocks along the pathway that align with the South Waterfront 1. South Waterfront 1, or the South Waterfront Mixed Use District 1, that is what encompasses the form-based codes, the Southwest Waterfront, or the South Waterfront codes, sorry, I can't talk. And then this is just an area just south of that. So it does have RN1, RN2, 3, 4, 5 within its list of class of zones that it allows. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
It does. It helps. And if I could ask Mr. Johnson to pull something up, this is just to help me make a point in terms of where that plan stops and where it is being proposed to go. If my colleagues can look at the screen, where it says row, right-of-way, that's a train track. And that has really operated as sort of a line of demarcation, unofficial, but when you look at the maps, the zoning maps, the sector plans, the one-year plans, you see that as really the point. And then things beyond that are a little bit different. So I'd like you to look at the moment where everything is RN2. Now this gets into the next case, and I know I'm running out of time, but the sector plan and the one-year plan right now are out of alignment. I understand that that needs to change, but what this does is starts to introduce a pretty large change for what can be done throughout a larger section of land. It doesn't mean that the 13S is a die that's cast, but it is a significant change that we're being asked to consider, that we will be going back to for those land use classifications from here forward.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? Mr. Councilmember DeBartoleben.
Yeah, I'd like to note a couple things. One is I pulled up the ward map on that as well. Just if you look, I was trying to explore why is that piece of property so much larger of a plat than the other plats around it. And if you look at the original ward map, it's actually 3 different properties. So I would say at its least somewhere that changed, and that's part of why this cleanup is needed, because it was not the original plan for that planned area. I drove down there this week, which I do often, but saw the River Park Way, those 2 townhomes that are catty corner, and then with the art walk going in there, I think this neighborhood's going to continue to see change. I think something that's been negative is there's currently a duplex that's being built on this same hill. It's allowed by right. It is not a pretty duplex. It's a very poorly designed building. And I think what people fear is that they're going to get another very poorly designed duplex. So the problem with that thing is not that it's a duplex. The problem is that it's poorly designed. And so my hope for this property is that that it will be well designed.
Any further questions or discussion? Councilmember Adams.
Yeah, I agree with your opinion on that particular duplex. I wish that what was coming in front of us right now was duplexes. I would be thrilled, but that's not. The request for zoning that is connected to this is for something more intense than duplexes. I appreciate the research that you did on that parcel to learn about why it is larger. The line that I was pointing out and the density that I think Mr. Harper spoke about from Yes and that Councilman DeBartoleben may be speaking about, we are seeing that absolutely right now. And I think that it is welcomed along the corridor of Island Home. What I'm pointing out is that that is a neighborhood right now that is completely RN2. And the change in the sector plan will still allow RN2 there. So these are connected in a way. If we vote yes on this for 13, sorry, I can't get my numbers straight, 13R, that doesn't mean that 13S has to be the zoning that is being requested. But I'm trying to make sure that everyone is aware that if we vote for this sector plan alignment to be done, we are also opening up a real change for this area. That means that other more intense developments that may not be requested or desired on that other side of the train track there become a sort of domino effect. We've got a lot of intense usage right now in South Knoxville, which is wonderful. The traffic and the construction is not always wonderful, but we have a really welcoming and happy community about the development that is happening. But it is also a community that is very proud of its neighborhoods that exist there now. And that is a neighborhood. That's why I wanted everyone to look at the RN2 that's there. And when I think about the sector plan alignment, while I understand that, I don't want to postpone this for a comprehensive plan. I feel like that is the easier thing to do because that would take 2 years. And I really don't want to take 2 years. In the same breath, I don't want to approve one development here and have that be a domino effect that takes away a neighborhood that people already have as their RN2. And the planning case talked about height a lot. If anyone watched the Planning Commission meeting on this, and that was a big concern of the neighbor that spoke up that day. 35 feet is what RN2 allows. So I'm blurring these again a little bit, but if you start to get into the SWMUD2, and that's the sector plan change, height does go up. You do have other things that have higher heights in them, and that's a concern to me. So as much as I have struggled with this, and everyone in planning knows that because I've talked to them a ton. I've talked to the applicant quite a bit, who's doing exceptional work. But I'm going to need to make a motion that we deny this sector plan change.
Second.
A motion made to deny has been made and seconded. If you're here, you're the applicant, you have not signed up to speak, so if council members have a question for you, they can pose that, but thank you for letting us know you're here. I appreciate that. Just one quick point of information from Ms. Poitier. This was approved unanimously by planning, is that correct? By Planning Commission? That's what it says on the agenda. Did staff recommend it?
The applicant asked for RN5. We recommended RN4, and that's what the Planning Commission approved.
Okay.
And just a quick point of clarification, in RN4, the height for multifamily, if that is what ends up being here, would be 45 feet unless adjacent to single family, then it's 35 feet. And this is adjacent to single family, so it would be 35 if you guys approve RN4.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? Mr. Thomas.
Yes, I just was going to say that a 35-foot height limit that's pretty high for this neighborhood. And those people have lived in that community for a long time, and I would proceed cautiously with major changes here, although incrementally, we will do that. But I can support the motion to deny.
Councilmember Honeycutt?
Because the applicant's here and has taken the time to come down, could we hear from him?
Absolutely. If a council member wants to ask him to come up, please come up. If you could state your name and address for the record, and Mr. Honeycutt, you can ask a question. Or start by stating your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Matthew Thompson with Dickerson LLC. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming down and being part of the conversation.
Like, really, I'm shocked, how I got set down, and you actually made that point. I'm gracious.
Well, absolutely.
I met with Karen. She's, thank you for your time, but I've seen her bob and weave back and forth on me on this one. We met at the site, and we sat there, and I hear the train tracks. The train tracks are a marker.
Point of order, I'm sorry. A question has not been asked. I'm
Mr.
sorry, I'm just trying to make sure we do our rules.
I apologize.
Mr. What did you say your name is?
Matthew Thompson.
I mean, I just need
Mr.
Mr.
Thompson,
Honeycutt
just
to
wait
ask.
till a council member asks you a question, and then you can speak to answering that question.
Sorry.
Mr. Honeycutt, do you have a question?
Yeah, no, I completely understand Councilwoman Adams' position on this and understand where she's coming from. I just wanted to hear your perspective on her position and where your perspective was.
Absolutely. So right there, when we're looking at, I'm following the North Water District, right? I mean, the South Waterfront. And I see the infrastructure going in. I see the call for new homes. And I see that. And so as a developer, I started to move into Knoxville, okay? Because it's energetic, it's vibrant, I love it. And as I'm looking at the waterfront district, we spent this massive infrastructure, right? The waterfront district acreage, that's going to be $1 million plus acreage of land. Y'all aren't going to get homes there, right? And so when what I proposed, and I met with Karen, and it was a great meeting, thank you so much, is townhomes. There's nothing more you can do there. And then I hear, hey, wait a minute, I'm concerned about 35 foot. I can put 35 foot on RN1 or RN2. That's just basic code. Just because the folks that are currently there didn't choose to, they have that right. But that's just code. What it currently is, RN2, is 35 foot. So we're saying now, hey, wait a minute, we don't like 35 foot, but that's what the current RN2 code allows. So that kind of, to me, isn't a valid, reason. I mean, because across the street, they're allowed to be 35, okay? The railroad, the other piece there, that's going away because somebody along the way, declared that as a landmark, therefore we shouldn't go past it. That's just I guess a myth, a legend. I don't know even what that would be. It's not code. That's all being ripped up. We now have a gorgeous greenway. We need townhomes. We need people moving into the area to use the infrastructure that the city is spending its money on. right? That's all what we're all doing. That's why I'm a developer. I'm bringing here, I'm not trying to put high rises. I'm trying to put less than 35-foot townhomes where they belong, right? In that area, a townhome, that's the same as a regular home. I don't see that as a bad word. I'm hearing folks say, man, we don't need townhome. Karen, even, we sat out there, she'll tell you, we sat out there and she's like, I like your idea. She told me she liked the townhomes. I said, hey, we're going to go right here. I can go to right here. 4 townhomes. That's my hope. And they will be gorgeous. If y'all want to go visit, she visited my work. I do gorgeous work. I take pride in what I bring to Knoxville City. So when we're saying, hey, that community, yes, I'm bringing 4 new homes to that community, 4 townhomes. What's wrong with that? They won't be higher than what across the street allows. That's the code. If they want to rip down their house and throw up 35 foot, they're allowed to do that. And I'm right across the street, and I could put a duplex that's 35 foot up. But I want to do townhomes. They're going to be gorgeous. We're going to do sidewalks. It's going to look the part. You will be proud of it. That's what I do. And so I'm just confused on, hey, it's a neighborhood. Townhomes are a neighborhood. There's nothing wrong with living in a townhome, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm confused is, what are we pressing? What is the bad point here? And that's where I'm truly, I got 44 seconds left. So I am not understanding, do y'all want me to build townhomes? Do you want me to build big master, just huge homes with just one of them? What is it that you want from me as a developer? Because I'm going to build it. I'm going to build it nice. But when you're telling me, oh, no, we don't like townhomes, those aren't homes. Those are something different. We want you to build 1 home, Matt, or we want you to build 2. I'm just not understanding the rules that what you guys want.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Sorry. No, I just appreciate your time and clarification. And just so we know, no matter, regardless of what happens here, I've said this, publicly as many times as possible. And I think a lot of people on this council are a proponent of townhomes. And so I think it's a way to solve our affordability crisis and a lot of good things. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Councilmember Honeycutt. Councilmember DeBartoleben.
I'd like to ask planning a couple clarification questions. You mentioned 35 feet, so thank you for clarifying that. If this were to change from RN2 to RN4, how many duplexes could somebody put on this property?
You can put one.
Mr. Thompson, you aren't being addressed. Thank you very much. This is for planning.
Sorry.
Let me look at the square footage. Hold on just a second.
And I'll clarify that, again, looking at the ward map, I really see this as appropriate as 3 properties. If you look at the size of this property compared to the adjacent properties. It's that.
Sorry, I'm having to measure. Okay, so it looks like it's roughly 11,900 square feet. In RN4, you're required to have at least 7,000 square feet for a duplex or for a 2-family, so just 1.
Okay, and then what about townhome?
Townhouses, you have got 3,000 square feet per dwelling unit, so 2. And if it, so I should say KGIS is always, it's kind of a best guess scenario. So if they do have 12,000 square feet, then they could do 4, sorry. So they'd be able to do 3 with townhouses if it's 11.8.
And then multifamily?
Multifamily is 2,000 square feet per dwelling unit. So if they've got 12,000, they could do 6. If not, then they could do 5.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, and I appreciate Councilmember Honeycutt asking the applicant to speak because he has been wonderful to work with and talk to, and he does do very good work, so none of that is in question. And I will say for the record as well, I have no problem with townhomes. I think that they are a very good form, and to echo your point, I think that that's a way that we start to address part of our housing issue. My concern is that if you looked at that map, it is akin, it almost looks like spot zoning because everything else is RN2. And so when we talk about changing the base zone, as much as I like the applicant's proposal, that zoning stays with the land. And it does not necessarily stay with the applicant that we have in front of us. So that's why the concern I have is for the large change for the sector plan and then the specific change for that property. Not because I think that townhomes are bad. I think they're very good, and we are seeing them across the South Knoxville district, and they're doing a really good job. What I see here is a concern about an existing neighborhood that has all RN2 zoning, and we're going to put in one RN4. And that means what will come next. And I've served on Planning Commission long enough to know that what happens next is that we have more and more RN4. People buy up the houses that exist there now, they're gone, and we've lost the neighborhood. Not that townhomes aren't neighborhoods, but that the character of that place, and I'm talking about architectural style, and I'm talking about the humans that are there right now, is lost. And so that is my concern, and why I'm asking for the denial of this case.
Vice Mayor Fugit?
Thank you. I'll just say this one is a hard one because when planning votes for something 13-0, that's usually a pretty good, and staff recommended it, that's usually a pretty good indication that a lot of people have looked at it, talked about it for a long time, and have come to agreement. I also share the concern that it can be the beginning of the slippery slope. So that wasn't helpful. I understand, but I'm just saying, I feel what everybody has said. I will also say for my new colleagues on council, this is the problem you're gonna have on pretty much every vote we have about zoning right now in the city of Knoxville. We are in a city in transition. People need more places to live, but nobody wants where they live to change, me included. Some stuff changed at the end of my street I wasn't wild about. It actually turned out, looks pretty good, don't tell them. But I mean, but it is, change is hard, change is hard. So, and the other thing that is the hardest thing for me on these zoning changes is that the applicant who comes who's asking for the zoning change always pretty much does something we exactly want done. The problem then is that if it's rezoned, if for some reason financing doesn't come through, the deal falls through, then it's rezoned. So I'm just telling you, it's never going to get perfect. You're just going to have to make a gut decision factoring in all that we've heard, because there are no guarantees in any zoning decision we make, because people can build things that, I'll just hush, it's just hard.
Councilmember Thomas?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, is that helpful?
Yeah, I do share the concerns of my colleague, Ms. Adams. I was on the Planning Commission as well for quite a while, and that doesn't make me an expert, but I have seen things play out as Council Member Adams said. And if you look at the map and you look at what's around and what the neighborhood has kind of treasured, the rezoning does go to the land, and this would open up maybe something that this applicant wouldn't have in mind. And Ms. Adams has lived in her district a long time, and she knows it better than I do. So on this one, this property will be developed, but I would think that it would be better developed under the existing code. And I will also say that when developers buy property, they know how it's zoned. And they shouldn't expect just to be able to change the zoning to fit what they want. There is a caution there that this property is not zoned to do what I want it to do. And then there is down the road, it is a domino effect where you allow one applicant in a particular case like this to do it, and then next thing you know, the entire area has been, the context of it's really been changed as far as the neighborhood. But, these are tough choices, and, and townhouses work great in lots of places, and quite often they're our best option, but I don't think it is here. So I will support the motion to deny.
Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to deny, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, I think that's a 7-2, motion carries. Is that right, 2? Okay, thank you. The next item, I believe, is moot based on the outcome of the item you just voted on. Is that correct, Mr. Frost, Mr. Swanson? Okay, has anyone signed up for public forum?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then without objection, this meeting is adjourned.